Rebecca Sheptegei was born on February 22, 1991, on the Kenyan side of the Kenya-Uganda border. Early in her adult life, when she decided to pursue an athletic career, she chose to represent Uganda as it's where her ancestral village resided. She also believed it would gain her more recognition, though she still lived and trained in Kenya for much of her life. In 2008, she enlisted in the Uganda People's Defense Forces and joined their athletics club. Many aspiring athletes in East Africa join the military for financial backing, and their training facilities also provide great opportunities to practice. At the age of 19, she competed in one of her first major races, the 2010 World Cross Country Championships. In the junior women's division, she placed 15th out of 95 competitors in the individual race and claimed bronze in the team race. The next year, she took part in the Military World Games held in Rio de Janeiro and claimed bronze in the women's 5-kilometer run. She continued running in many races throughout the decade, even winning a handful of them, and gradually stepped up from half marathons to full marathons. The 2020s saw rapid growth in Rebecca's career. In April 2022, she won the Women's Padova Marathon in Italy. Later that year in November, she won the World Mountain and Trail Running Championship in Thailand. The following month, she set a Ugandan marathon record of 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 47 seconds at a marathon in Abu Dhabi. These accomplishments were enough for her to qualify at the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. She competed in the women's marathon, where she placed 44th with a time of 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 14 seconds. On September 1st, less than a month after her Olympic appearance, Rebecca was returning home with her 2 daughters after attending church. She was unaware that her former partner, Dixon Nyama Manangach, was hiding inside her home. The two had recently separated after reportedly getting into a heated property dispute. When Rebecca arrived, Dixon took a 5-liter jerry can full of gasoline and doused her with it, shortly before setting her on fire in front of her 2 children. Neighbors outside heard screaming, followed by Rebecca running from her house in flames. As they desperately tried to find water to put her out, Dixon came outside and poured more fuel onto the athlete. In doing so, he accidentally lit himself on fire and ran towards a nearby garden to put it out. The neighbors were finally able to extinguish Rebecca, and both her and Dixon were taken to the Moi Hospital in Kenya. Rebecca suffered burns to over 75% of her body, and 4 days later, on September 5th, she succumbed to what was described as full organ failure. Dixon, meanwhile, received burns to 40% of his body, in addition to the failure of his respiratory system caused by sepsis and burns to his airway. He died from his injuries on September 9th. Police stated that had he survived his injuries, he would have faced murder charges. Rebecca's death wasn't an isolated incident. In fact, she was the 3rd femicide of an athlete that Kenya had seen in 3 years. On October 13, 2021, 25-year-old Agnes Tirop was found stabbed to death in her home. Less than a year later, in April 2022, the decomposing body of 28-year-old Damaris Mutua was discovered, with an autopsy revealing her cause of death to be strangulation. Both women were murdered in the same town, and each of their romantic partners were listed as main suspects. These killings underscored a growing trend of violence towards women in Africa. In eastern and southern parts of the continent, it's estimated that 2 out of 5 females encounter some form of physical or sexual violence in their lifetimes. The sub-Saharan region of Africa also sees some of the highest rates of intimate partner violence in the world, about 33% of women aged 15 to 49. In 2024, the same year of Rebecca's murder, it's reported that Africa saw 22,600 femicides committed by romantic partners or family members. That's about 2.8 deaths per 100,000 women. For reference, the Americas, which only has about a 30% smaller population, saw less than half the amount of femicides at 7,700, or 1.5 deaths per 100,000 women. In the wake of Agnes Tirop's death in 2021, an organization was founded titled Tirop's Angels, which aims to spread awareness about gender-based violence. The group's co-founder and fellow distance runner Viola Sheptu Lagat commented on Rebecca's murder, saying, "Justice really would have been for Dixon to sit in jail and think about what he's done. This is not positive news whatsoever." Echoing her sentiment, the Secretary General of Uganda's Olympic Committee, Beatrice Aikodu, said, "I don't wish bad things on anyone, but of course I would have loved for him to face the law as an example for others so that these attacks on women can stop." Rebecca's friends and family weren't short of words to describe how wonderful she was. One of her closest friends was her training partner, James Kerwa, who said she was very supportive of him during his early athletic career. Quote, "When I first started, I almost gave up because it was very difficult, but she told me, you must soldier on." He also recounted her incredibly generous behavior towards her athletic group, describing her as a very affable person and that she helped us all, even financially. She brought me training shoes when she came back from the Olympics. One of her other colleagues, Immaculate Shemutai, corroborated her altruism, saying, "She sometimes supports us if we need some loan or something like that. We can request it and she can give." Understandably, Rebecca's family was hit hard by the news of her passing, in particular her father Joseph. He called her the breadwinner of the family, using earnings from her races to help support them. "I'm very saddened by my daughter's death. I depended on her for so much. She was helping me with her siblings' school fees. Such a barbaric act." With Rebecca gone, Joseph expressed his concern about funding for her daughter's education. James Kerwa was also deeply affected by the event. 3 days after Rebecca's death, James was scheduled to compete in the Nairobi City Marathon. He dropped out due to the recent tragedy putting a heavy strain on his mental well-being. On September 14th, Rebecca's body was transported to her ancestral home in Uganda, where thousands of people attended her funeral. Because of her military background, Ugandan military soldiers were present who gave her a 3-volley salute. Rebecca was 33 years old.